Battle Armor Skeletor and He-Man figures each sold separately from the Masters of the Universe collection.
Welcome everybody to another Masters of the Universe Origins review, the sleeper hit of 2020. This toy line has really captured the imagination and hearts of vintage He-Man collectors. Taking a look at Battle Armor He-Man, a figure I really didn't have any interest in picking up. It's all about the head. The first time I heard about this figure, hearing that it would include the vintage style head that I'd be able to pop on this bloke right here, the original Origins He-Man. I knew that I would have to pick up Battle Armor He-Man, not because I love the Battle Armor motif, but because I really wanted to take this head, pop it on this body. I am in the camp of people that didn't really like this head. The body is just so similar to the original He-Man, and the head is such a departure. It just didn't really work for me, and it's one of the reasons I haven't really prominently displayed this guy in my collection. I'm really excited to pop the vintage style head on there and see if it hits me in the feels. Thing about Battle Armor He-Man, the vintage one, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I have a very, very strong feeling that I actually had a Battle Armor He-Man before I had a vintage He-Man. And then I got the re-release, original He-Man with the original Starburst that you saw in the History of Masters of the Universe 1984 edition. By the way, thanks to everyone who checked out that video and left some awesome comments. Glad you all enjoyed that. So, Battle Armor He-Man, I may have had him before the regular He-Man, and back then it would have simply been because I wanted a He-Man and he was a He-Man. This is a He-Man. It is not the He-Man. And I probably would have passed on him completely if it wasn't for that head. And also, because I kind of mulled it over. I saw him at the store and I passed him over the first time I saw him. And then I ended up picking him up the next time I was in the store. Because this right here, I believe this fits over the sword. And it's the transformation lightning bolt that you can use on the sword. Or you can also have your Hasbro Dusty Rhodes figure ride on the end of this lightning bolt, as Dusty Rhodes often did. He is currently available on Big Bad Toy Store, and I've got the link for you in the show notes if you want to pick one up there. So before we crack him open, I'll just give you a little look at the packaging. This one is not from Big Bad Toy Store because the card has been smashed up a little bit. On the back, we've got pictures of the other figures that are available. She-Ra, Roboto, Battle Armor Skeletor, who was there as well, and I passed on him because the head on the first Origin Skeletor doesn't bother me as much as it bothers a lot of people. So I passed on that Skeletor and the bonus head he came with. There's Merman, Panther. Looking forward to getting this guy right here, Clamp Champ, and Zodak as well. Showing off the Battle Armor Gimmick. Interested to see how that compares to the original one, because even though I preferred the original He-Man over Battle Armor He-Man, the Battle Armor Gimmick was awesome. I spent countless hours smashing and bashing and whacking with weapons this Battle Armor feature, and it was always cool to be able to reset it. And a look at some more awesome Origins style artwork, harkening back to the old days. There's Man-at-Arms and Merman attacking the Battle Armor. So I usually like to try to keep my packaging nice, cut it out nicely so that I can pop the figure back in if I want to and just put a little piece of tape up there. Forget it with this guy. This head was very, very difficult to get out of there. Just barely got it out of there and I had to tear it apart. So the packaging is a write-off. But here is Battle Armor He-Man with all of his accessories. Comes with a mini comic as usual. Oh, there's something popping out of the bottom here. We've got instructions. So you can insert the power sword into the lightning bolt. And also it is a half sword, which can be combined with Skeletor's sword. Instructions and a comic book. I wonder if Triple H is kicking anyone's butt in this one or getting his butt kicked. Nope, that's not a WWE crossover. No speech bubbles again. Seems like Some of the ones I get have no speech bubbles, and some of them do. Looks like Man-at-Arms is presenting He-Man with some battle armor. Anyways, deluxe set comes with a bunch of accessories. Comes with an extra hand, so he's got an open hand, just like the original Origins He-Man has. But you can also easily pop it out and pop this one in so he can use both of his weapons. And the two weapons that are included are the Sword of Power, or Power Sword. Actually, since this one is a half on this side with the arm guard or knuckle guard, whatever it's called, I think it would look better held in this hand. And then you can take the axe, pop it into this hand. And I'm really interested to see how this thing works. Apparently you just slide that on there. It's as simple as that. Then the issue is stability. Is he going to be able to stand while this thing is attached to the Sword of Power? And he seems pretty sturdy, actually. That is a really cool effect too. That's much better than just having the sword pointing skyward and imagining lightning or adding them in post-production. Yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome. We're going to pop that on the full Power Sword in a second. But before we do, here's a closer look at Battle Armor He-Man and give you a 360. He's basically exactly like the original Origins He-Man figure except for the body. Looks like he's got a little thing on the back, which is cool, that you can store either the Sword of Power or his axe on. The original Battle Armor He-Man did not have that. Hey, that's really cool. It actually is the exact right size for the axe so that you can clip it in there and it won't pop out. And let's see how the sword fits in there. Nice and snug too. Doesn't feel like it's damaging the blade. Just a gentle kiss of a hold. Yeah, that's nice design on the back. Now I'm really interested to see if this works exactly like the original one did, and it is. It takes me back. I remember with the Classics figures, Masters of the Universe Classics, the whole deal was no gimmicks, gimmick free. So their Battle Armor He-Man, you had to open up the armor and swap out the plates. This, though, if you hit it hard enough, I'm being a little gentle here, will give you some battle damage. Maybe you need to use an actual, well, the Sword of Power isn't going to hurt He-Man, but maybe an axe would. You got to give it a good wallop, actually. But it works, if you're curious, exactly like the original Battle Armor gimmick worked. It's kind of, as an adult collector, a shame to be smashing into this because I know paint isn't what it used to be. But that's really cool. The feature on my Battle Armor Vintage He-Man isn't working so well anymore. It won't hold when I reset it. But I'm glad that they were able to recreate that. That's for a figure that I'm not crazy about, it is still a little piece of nostalgia, so I'm glad to see that that's back. So that's the Battle Armor feature, but for me, it's all about the comparisons. When I decided to get him, I wanted to see how he matched up to the original one, how the heads would look on the different bodies. But here is a comparison with the original Battle Armor He-Man. They're pretty close in size. If you give the Origins figures, they may appear to be taller than the vintage figures, but they're actually not. It's just because they're not in as squat a position as the original guys were. So if you squat them up, then they are about the same height. And if we pull this hand out, pop this open hand in, that makes him look even more similar to his original version. Just major difference in color. The belt on the vintage Battle Armor He-Man is more of a deep orange. This is a lighter orange, more of a red-brown, fuzzy boots, and fuzzy britches, and it's more of a brown on this one. Axe is totally different, just like on the original Origins figure. And the head, totally different. Whole reason I got this guy, got to remedy that. So how about we do that right now? We take this vintage head and pull the sword out so that it doesn't get in the way. Push this and see if we can pop this head off. They're usually pretty easy. It's not as scary as the classics figures. That's one thing they've improved upon. And pop the head on. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. I was hoping that would look as good as it does. So here's the deal with the vintage style head on the newer figures. They offered this style of head on the classics figures, and I just did not like it. For some reason, the look of the vintage toy on a classics figure with all of the articulation and detail that the classics bodies have, it just didn't work for me. But because this looks so vintage in sculpt and just feel, it's a fun looking toy rather than movable sculpture. That just looks awesome. Did a great job. I was a little concerned that the hair was going to be a little too yellow, because I thought the hair was too yellow on the original Origins figure. But I think it's fantastic. It's much better than I was hoping for. And now all that really sticks out to me is how narrow this battle armor is. Let's give that a twist to show off the difference in battle armor. I always thought this kind of looked like a bat symbol, Batman symbol or something. So it's pretty much exactly the same as the new one, but I wonder why they decided to narrow it down, whereas on the original one it takes up the entire breastplate. And another comparison, I'll bring in the Origins Atom figure, which has the same love it or hate it style of head sculpt, and I'll just give you a quick comparison of the battle armor head and the Origins Atom head. Open mouth here, attack mode, I guess. The hair on Atom is just a shade darker, just a little bit more red in there, I think, a little more orangey. And another thing I'm curious about is popping this head off before we get it on the Origins body and trying it out on Prince Adam. So I'm so impressed with this head. I'm actually hoping that the skin tone matches here, and it is. It's a perfect match. Man, that looks so much better. That is a huge, huge improvement. Sorry, Battle Armor He-Man. I guess you can use one of your extra heads. You can take the original one he came with, or the Prince Adam head, and pop it back on there. Put him out of the way, but it's this head for me, for the Origins He-Man. This sword, for some reason, just will not stay in his hand. Don't know why, but I'm hoping now that I actually see this in person that I can track down, or maybe they'll offer some kind of, I don't know, direct-to-consumer head pack, or you never know, maybe Barbarossa Customs, who does a lot of great custom recast, repro, Masters of the Universe accessories. He does an awesome Filmation-style head for Classics He-Man, and maybe Barbarossa will do one of these heads too, because now that I see this in person, my Prince Adam needs this head, my Battle Armor He-Man needs this head, and we'll pop this off. My original Origins He-Man definitely needs this classic head. Let's get rid of this one right here. Whoa, there it goes. And pop on the new one. Perfect skin tone again, perfect fit. Isn't bobbly and loose, and is a huge, huge, huge improvement. Much, much better. I'm actually kind of curious here. This battle axe that comes with Battle Armor He-Man looks a little more metallic than the one that came with the original Origin He-Man. So even though this one is the same color as the shield, this if you want to just pillage this guy for his accessories, this axe actually, I think, works better for this He-Man. I like how that metallic axe looks with the metallic sword here. And, you know, I'm just kind of curious because I know they reversed the swords for the original Battle Armor He-Man and Skeletor. They reversed how the swords fit together. So I'm curious if it's the same deal here. No, it's the exact same way they fit together. So this one is still with the pegs, and Skeletor's, I'm assuming Battle Armor Skeletor still has the holes. And they look exactly the same. They both have that metallic type of swirl sheen to them, sort of like how Optimus Prime G1 trailer had that metallic sheen to it. So that's my upgraded Origins He-Man. That's the main reason I wanted to get Battle Armor He-Man. Sorry, Battle Armor He-Man, but I don't think I'll have any use for this guy until I get another one of these heads, which I'll be popping on him, and then he'll be basically like the original Battle Armor He-Man. He's technically a He-Man, but he's not the definitive He-Man. Also, thanks Battle Armor He-Man for the upgraded axe. I much prefer how that one looks. Thanks for the extra hand, actually, because what I could do now is pop that one out, pop this one in. Don't need this extra sword, and have this guy now hold both the sword and the axe. And I think you can also clip the shield on without actually having to have the hand hold it. Kind of feels like I'm pinching the arm there. Oh, no, it fits on there perfect, actually. Sweet. That's having your cake and eating it too. Now he can hold all of his weapons and not have to store anything on his back. That looks really, really cool. And just pop this hand off to the side. Now the big other thing that I wanted to try with this Origins He-Man is this lightning bolt thing. And when the light hits it just right, and I've got lights coming in from either side as well as from above, this thing just lights up beautifully. It's like Inhumanoids glow in the light. So let's hold the sword aloft. Once again, I wish the hand went up and down like the Filmation Classics He-Man hand does. Unfortunately, Battle Armor He-Man does not have that joint, as well as Prince Adam doesn't have that joint either. All of the joints are like that. So I don't know, maybe Thunder Punch He-Man or Flying Fists He-Man in the Origins line will have an up and down hand, and it's one of those, hey, even if you don't want the figure, buy the whole figure so you can pillage the accessories. But let's see if this will fit. It should. Over the entire sword, it does. So it fits over the half sword or the entire sword, and makes him a little front heavy, but luckily these guys are fantastic for balancing. And he's a little bit wobbly, but I really like that effect. That's a lot more dynamic than just the sword by itself. Looks really, really cool. And the final comparison is the new vintage style Origins He-Man with the original He-Man. That's the head that this new head sculpt has been based on. And it's fantastic. They've done a fantastic job of recapturing the look of it. I don't think it's a straight recast. There are a lot of similarities, actually. I'll use the power sword to point them out here. I see these two wisps of hair right here, and over on the new Origins He-Man. That's been recreated there. A little tuft of hair in the front. It actually looks really, really similar. You be the judge. The eyes look a little different, but that might be because of the paint application on the eyebrows, not necessarily the sculpt. So it's very close. If it's not a recast, then it's certainly closely inspired by the vintage head. Just a brighter yellow, which again, I would have preferred closer to the original shade of hair. It might look close here on camera, but I have a feeling if I kill one of my lights, you'll notice just how much more bright the Origins head is than the vintage one, which is more of like a sandy blonde. And in case you're wondering if this lightning effect fits on the original Power Sword, I don't see why it wouldn't. Yeah, it just fits right on there. Whether he can hold the sword while it's on there is another matter. My He-Man has trouble holding the sword, period, and standing up. So then it becomes a real balancing act to get him to hold everything and not fall over. But there you go. You can actually put the lightning effect on the original. It's not quite the same without being able to look up, without being able to bend his elbow a little bit. So I think this is much better for the Origins or Classics figures that are a little more posable. And finally, a look at the Battle Armor He-Man on top of Battle Cat. And even though I am not the biggest fan of Battle Armor He-Man, I must admit he looks fantastic on Battle Cat. He looks more at home on Battle Cat wearing the chest armor, I think. So if I didn't have my Origins He-Man, my newly upgraded Ultimate version of Origins He-Man, if I had an extra Battle Cat, maybe Battle Armor He-Man would probably look much better on there. But as it stands, this is what I've been waiting quite some time for, to be able to have this vintage looking Battle Cat and this now vintage looking He-Man on top of there. That just looks so awesome. Very similar to how I display my Classics He-Man with both the sword and the shield at the ready. That's fantastic. Unfortunate that we had to buy a whole other figure to get that head, but the end result is the head looks fantastic. Great paint application on it. Looks great. Perfect skin tone match. And makes a really good figure, this Origins He-Man figure, into an excellent figure. So that's what I thought. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Shout out to the Patreon tribe. Thank you for your continued support. Want to make a couple of community announcements. Welcome to the newest wave of Patreon tribe members. Joseph Guire, JD, Ryan Wall, Nathan Ridgway, Master Farr, and Vintage Toy Rush. And welcome back, Adrian Stinnison. And thanks to Build-A-Bricks Mark Van Cannon and Luke Wiltshire for the extra energon. Enjoy the advanced screenings as Master Sergeant level Patreon tribe members. And also thank you to the channel members for hitting the join button. Much appreciation. Welcome to the newest channel member, 80s Toy Nostalgia. Feel free to leave a comment below, and to join the tribe, hit subscribe. Nerdmaste!